Bismillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, I was thinking about something and I was reflecting upon my time in Egypt, primarily Egypt. And when I would think about the students of knowledge that were there, the ones who were there studying, the ones who it was obvious that they were serious about their studies, and you would watch how they move, because when I was there, and brand new, you look to, I think it's only natural that you look to those people who, you think are obviously more advanced, more dedicated, more successful. And, I used to watch these students, and there were some commonalities that I noticed with these students. The area that I lived in Medina Nasr, in Cairo, was heavily populated with a lot of foreign students from Russia, Chechnya, some Somali, Kazakhstan, Indonesia, Malaysia, French, a lot of French brothers, British, brothers from all over. And many of them had been there for quite a long time. Their Arabic was very good. They had moved on from studying Arabic to studying actual sciences, fiqh, hadith, different things like this. So some of the characteristics that I noticed is that whenever I saw them, they had a book in their hand, or they had a backpack with books or study material with them almost every time. So the area that I lived in, the housing was like, when you would come out of your building, the souk, the market is like right there where people, grocery shop, buy spices, buy drinks, stores, you can buy clothes, all of that stuff. So you would see these students with their families, and the wife would be pushing the, not baby carriage, but the stroller or something like this. And the brother would always be walking with his family, taking care of his family. But if the wife stopped and wanted to go into a store, I would always notice these brothers would instantly crack a book open. Instantly crack a book open and start reading, muraja, revising, going over information, have a highlighter, highlighting. And then when the wife would come out, they'd put it away and continue to walk. And that was something that I noticed amongst many of the students who, from my perception, were the more advanced, highly dedicated. You saw a difference between them and some of the other brothers who were there studying, who maybe, half study, half social. There's another brother that's in Egypt, and I remember he's pretty well known. He's on social media, and we used to go to his house for dinner. And I remember one time in particular, there was the call for Salah. It was the Adhan, and the masjid was right next to his home. And I remember when we were all putting our shoes on, he started packing this bag. I said, "Akhi, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm bringing my books with me." And I said, "Why are you bringing your books with you? We're just going for Salah." He said, "Because there may be a moment in time that like downtime, between the adhan and the iqama, or a moment that nothing's going on, that I can revise, that I can work on my memorization of something, that I can go over something. That level of dedication, really, really rubbed off on me. So my perception of a talib al-ilm, a student of knowledge, or a person that's striving to be a student of knowledge, is sort of molded by these brothers that I saw in Egypt, who, I mean, you could tell they were highly motivated and dedicated. I know another brother, not to belabor this, but there was another brother. He was American, and there's a whole story with him. I knew him in America, and when he applied for Medina University, and that's a whole story. But anyway, it really didn't matter what time you could call him or would call him. What are you doing? I'm studying. What are you doing? Revising. What are you doing? Just got back from studying. What are you doing? I'm on my way to study. He finished 2 different language schools, Arabic. In most of the schools, the mustawa, each mustawa is like 1 month. Markaz al-Ibana, their mustawat, each one was, I think, 1.5 months. And he finished both schools in 12 months. He was blowing through levels. He would do a level in a week. They would allow him to test out of a level. When he said, hey, I think I'm ready, they'd give him the test, boom. And long story short, he ended up getting into Medina University at the age of 35. And he graduated from Medina, and he's back here in the States now. But his level of dedication, his level of study, his intensity, his desire to seek knowledge is something that really impressed itself upon me. We fast forward. Actually, let's go back. If you look into Islamic history, and you look at some of the greatest thinkers in Islamic history, if you think of some of the greatest inventors and the greatest minds prior to the advent of the internet, some of our greatest thinkers didn't have access to the internet. Some of our greatest scholars didn't have access to the internet. And these are the ones that we read from today. These are the ones that we reference and look to and read their books today. And I was thinking about this. We're in 2021 and have access to more information. It's almost like information overload. We have access to so much. Books are now on PDF, ebooks. You can read everything online. People are giving lectures left and right. Access to everything. And I can't think of a time or an era where the people were more ignorant than right now. Collectively. With all of this access to information. One of the biggest problems that I personally think is because of the internet. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry who has an opinion and has a microphone and a camera can now jump up and start giving fatwa, can start giving Islamic verdicts, can make claims of being amongst the students, who have actually studied, gone overseas and studied. And the argument can definitely be made that studying at home and studying overseas are quite different. I don't think the two equate. Can a person stay in their locality and be a student? Absolutely. But there is a lot that comes with going overseas and traveling and losing sleep, sacrificing being with your family, missing your children, missing your wife if you're married, you know, not having necessarily the money to eat, or it's just, there's so much that builds or molds that experience of seeking knowledge. You know, especially if you're not going to one of the big universities and you're studying in the village, you know, you're studying in Munafia with Sheikh Raslan, or you're studying in a village somewhere in Egypt or in Mauritania. You know, you listen to some of the stories of the brothers who studied in Mauritania in the desert in tents. You know, that's a different type of seeking knowledge versus sitting in the comfort of your living room, you know, with your Zoom camera open and reading with somebody. It's different. I'm not saying it's not beneficial, but it's definitely not the same. So you have those people who study that way. And then you have others who have not really studied at all, who don't understand what talib al-ilm is. They think that because they've read a book with a person here or there, or sat in a few lectures, or, you know, studied a couple books, that constitutes talib al-ilm, that now they are qualified to open their mouth and talk about this, that, and the third. And again, I think the internet and the access to all of this has actually done us a disservice and made us more ignorant. I think the internet has really made us more ignorant. And I'm speaking in terms of Islam. We don't really have to sacrifice to seek knowledge. You know, we all know the hadith, you know, of the men or the man who would travel for months by horseback through the desert just to verify one single hadith. One single hadith. Travel, leave family, give up access to all the food and drink and the sleep and the rest and the comfort to go verify one hadith. Now we just go to the internet, type it in. Is this Sahih? Is this Hasan? What is the grading of this hadith? How is this hadith used? Maybe. Because many times we just grab a hadith out and use it to serve our purpose. So the internet, it could be argued that the internet has actually made us more jahil, more ignorant. You know, like I said, now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is on the internet, haven't left home, haven't done anything, no real sacrifice, and they're on the internet talking about all kinds of topics that, you know, overseas, when I was there, the things that they talked about in circles, even in social circles, brothers would have dinners at their homes, brother would get married, brother would have a child, invite the community to come. The topics that were talked about in the groups are greatly different than what you see people arguing and debating about on the internet today. Salafi this, Salafi that, Madhab this, Madhab that. I'm like, look, how is your Al-Fatiha? Has anyone checked your Al-Fatiha? Can you recite Al-Fatiha properly? Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, I'm not going to be asked about your Madhab. I'm not going to be asked about my Salafiyah. I'm going to be asked about my Salah. I'm going to be asked about my Ibadah. But we are so preoccupied with all this other stuff that in the grand scheme should really take a back seat. Right? When we are overseas, the topics are just different. They seem to be more ilm based. more knowledge-based, not my sheikh this, my sheikh that, my madhab this, arguing about this, that, and the other. And, you know, we preoccupy ourselves with that stuff here. But when you go overseas, and again, I can't speak for everybody's experience, so please don't, you know, well, when I was overseas, I heard, in my experience, and I've been to several Muslim countries, the people who were, or who seemed to be the most sincere, did not preoccupy themselves or the people with these types of conversations. It's not until I come back to America that I hear all of this stuff that I'm hearing. Personalities, individuals, this person, this group, that group, you know, arguing, you know, this, I don't know. It's a little bit disheartening. It really makes a person who knows better and has experienced better. It really makes you want to leave the country as soon as you can and get back to what you understand Islam really is, and focus on those things that are truly important. Recitation of Quran, understanding with a fahm, with understanding, reciting with understanding, being taught by qualified teachers, surrounding yourself and your families with good people who are sincere, you know? I don't know. That's just something that has been on my mind this week. And I couldn't decide if I was going to speak on it or not, but, you know, I figured I'd drop a few lines and, you know, anyway, that's it. Feel free to comment, subscribe, spread the video if you think there's benefit in it, comment, and let's all just try to do better and be mindful of what's important in this deen, and prioritize things where, and put things where they need to be in the order of priority. What you will be asked about, versus what you won't be asked about. You know, I'll be asked about myself. I'll be asked about my deen. I'll be asked about my family. I'll be asked about how I made my money. You know, all of these things. Making sure that all of that is correct versus, you know, these other issues that I wouldn't say are not important. They actually are important, but in the order of priority, don't take priority if you haven't mastered or fully understand the things that precede it. So with that, I will leave it there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Everyone have a good day.